We are starting at 3:01 p.m. First, we'll do a call to order, so if anyone can give a brief introduction. So,
Yes, Corporal Adam Segner with the West Covina Police Department Traffic Bureau.
Jana Robbins with the West Covina Traffic Department.
Jeremy Larakis with West Covina Traffic Department.
Allison Richter with the West Covina Traffic Department.
Michael Ackerman, West Covina City Engineer.
So the traffic committee items approved from the previous meeting was a traffic review on South Citrus Street crosswalk between Walnut Creek Parkway and East Cortez Street, which was unanimously approved. And the traffic review at Willow Avenue at Farlington Street, which is also unanimously approved. And the traffic review of Evangelina Street from Elena Avenue to Woodgate, which was also unanimously approved. And these will all be presented to the City Council for final approval. What we have for today, we have the red curve review for 1500 East Cameron Avenue, which we will be talking about. So this one was a red curb request from the homeowner of 1500 East Cameron Avenue. The resident is requesting a red curb to be installed in front of their driveway due to vehicles parking along that curb. And these vehicles consistently hang over the curb and block entrance and exiting of the driveway. Also, they're requesting for red curb to be installed on the north side of East Cameron Avenue, which is along West Covina High School, stating that although there are no parking signs, vehicles still stop and park there. So looking at the existing conditions of that segment, on the north side we have no stopping anytime signs along the entire north curb, and along the bottom, the south side, there are no parking signs from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. on school days. East Cameron Avenue is a minor arterial road based on the California Road Systems Map by Caltrans, and it has a speed limit of 40 miles per hour and a posted school speed limit of 25 miles per hour. The road is approximately 59 feet wide with 2 lanes in each direction and a yellow marked center line. As I stated before, parking is permitted on the south side of the street except from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. on school days and where there is red curb. And parking along the north side of Cameron Avenue is not permitted. And this segment runs through a single-family residential and residential agricultural zoning. So what we recommended for this segment was the installation of red curb, 17.5 feet of red curb at the south side of East Cameron Avenue, east of the driveway of 1500 East Cameron Avenue. There's approximately 17.5 feet of curb and 3 feet of painted on either side of the driveway. This way vehicles coming from both sides of the driveway will be able to enter and exit safely. And for the north side of East Cameron Avenue, we determined that we will not install any red curb because no stopping anytime signs are already posted within the segment. So instead, we will have code enforcement to be notified to do spot enforcement on this location.
And one of our recommendations, we're doing the 17.5 feet of red curb as shown. Normally we do like what's called driveway tipping, 2 or 3 feet on each side. But if we did that for the east and the west side as shown in the diagram, then there would not be enough room for a vehicle to park, so we decided to do the whole 17.5 feet. And as you can see, the driveway, it is difficult with line of sight, backing out. If a car is overhanging on either of the driveway aprons. So we do have a resident here on this item, so would you like to speak?
Sure.
This is
My name-
Michelson. You can introduce yourself.
My name is Ann Michelson. I'm the homeowner of 1500 East Cameron and have been there all my life. My parents bought that property in 1949, so we've been through a lot of changes in West Covina, but I still live in West Covina because I love it. And it's not perfect, but it's great. And I really, well, let me back up. You probably already know that the high school is on the opposite side. And that construction, because of construction, that big parking lot is a smaller big parking lot, and it has one exit and entrance. And that is directly in line with my west driveway. Like I say, I've lived there many years, and I really appreciate the red curb on that side, because normally, you know, they'll see that the parking lot is full and they'll park overhanging both sides, and it's, you know, it's really hard to get out. So and it's hard to see also. But on the north side, I'm really more concerned about the public, because I know you say that there are signs there. When I've looked, I've only seen one sign between Fernwood and Lark Ellen. And I think the real, and that's not to say people shouldn't be able to read, but what has happened is that that you've painted, I think you mentioned there's 4 driveways if you go east from the parking lot entrance, more or less, you know, Lark Ellen there. There's 4 driveways that are, 2 of them are not used because of the construction of the new building at West Covina High School. The last one before, the most eastward one before Fernwood is for the new building that's is already in use at West Covina. So anyways, you have 4 driveways, and like I understand you to say, it is painted red on each of those sides for about, what is it, 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet, I don't know. So you have those, that distance of red on each of 4 sets of driveway. Then in between is this huge stretch that is not painted anything. And the red is very bright red, which is really good. But what people do, and I've seen this for 60 years, that parking lot is full, and if one car parks on the north side, well, everybody is in a hurry, they're late, and they just park right behind them, and right behind them, and right behind them. But what they are careful of is that they do not park the red section that's just to the side of each of those driveways. They observe that red parking, but they don't observe the one sign that's up there that says you're not supposed to park. So what I have seen when that happens is that takes up obviously the whole lane, because there's only room for 2 lanes on westbound. I have to keep pointing because I'm confused with it. Westbound, there's only room for 2 lanes. On the eastbound, there is more room, so cars can park there when it's legal. But on the eastbound, there's, if even one car parks there, then people are coming at, you know, it should be 25 miles an hour. I think it's more like 80 or so miles per hour. Then they swerve around that car, because obviously that car has not put a cone or anything behind it. And once one car parks there, then everybody else just assumes it's okay because it's not red. And I think that's the major issue there. I even went over, I walked down towards Fernwood one time when it was a lot of overflow parking. I mean, at first they parked in front of my house and I was on the south side, which is fine. But then the overflow goes to the north side if one person starts it. So there's a whole line a month or so ago on the north side parking, and there was a code enforcement or parking, I don't know what you call them, parking enforcement white truck or pickup truck at the end of there with this lights flashing, which was perfect because that would warn people to get out of that lane. And I talked to him, he was very cordial, very respectful. He said, yeah, it's dangerous, but I can't give him any citation because the curb is not red. So at that point, and that he may have not understood all the rules or whatever. That's not his, I'm not here to blame him, But it really, it was the last straw for me to at least participate and try to get that safer. I've even seen buses, especially ones from another city, and not only will they unload the kids there, and they'll have their lights flashing, which is not very bright, not like a police car or something, but they'll stop there, unload, instead of going into the parking lot, and then some of them will actually stay there. So again, a whole lane is blocked, and that's the danger, I think, is when people aren't thinking. And I don't know if you saw that or heard about the accident in front of my house yesterday morning when a car was coming the opposite direction, and there was supposed to be construction, not at my house, but with the wires or something, and that gal must have been going 80, 90 miles per hour, flew up in the air yesterday morning at 7 o'clock and came, rolled partially and back down. But you would think she could have seen a big truck, but I don't know the details. Anyways, that was, it's because people do go faster than they should, and they look at red paint instead of the sign. It's, I know you talk about more code enforcement, but to me, as a resident, I would rather pay for somebody to put red paint there and not necessarily rob, police or anybody else their time to come and do code enforcement, because I really think the public would comply much, much more if it was painted red. So,
A question for you, are they parking there, or are they just stopping to drop off a
No.
kid?
No, they don't, well,
Just
there's other
curious,
issues
you know.
with dropping kids off, but that's not one of them. That's, they'll make U-turns to drop off kids in the morning, in the middle of the street, and do all sorts of crazy things. But they do not park on the north side to drop kids off. I've never seen that. They'll park at Fernwood, there's a light there, and even though the light will be green for me to go on to my business, a car is stopped there, letting kids out to cross at the crosswalk. I mean, I can't complain, about that. What I'm complaining about is cars parking.
So they're parking and they're leaving their car
Oh, yeah,
for
they're events.
hours, or?
Oh, yeah, there are events. I mean, graduation is the most obvious.
Right.
But there are other things. The parking lot is smaller than it used to be because of the construction there, so there's even fewer cars. And so the first extra parking they'll get is in front of my house, and I'm there, so that's fine. But the next part is, like I say, all it takes is one person parking there, and then other people will think it's okay because the curb is not red. And they'll avoid close to where the driveways are, where it is painted red with that little bit. So I just, I think the cost, I don't know what has gone, I know that you say that there's signs there, but I think because the red is at the edge of each entryway, that then they see when it's not red, oh, it's okay to park there because the sign is quite a ways back that direction. Like I say, it's getting a little bit worse because of the parking lot is shrunk and there's only one way in and out. But I don't know how anybody can enforce it. I mean, I know they're at the corner trying to get the no turn on red. They'll get, I think you have sat in front of my house.
Yes,
And they'll get the people coming north on Lark Ellen and turning, what direction? East on Cameron. And they'll, oh, I'll just slide through this. And then they'll sit there and they'll pull one over and then another over. So I think I've used up my time.
No problem, we enjoy hearing all, is there a speech? Oh, maybe that one's not on the PowerPoint. So I hear that we did check and there are signs, but maybe they're spaced further out.
Oh, yeah.
So our concern is that even if people are just hesitating and dropping their kid off, even if there's red curb, they're just gonna still
No.
do it.
But that's not.
So what we would need to do then is do a review and see how the width of the curb lane is. And if it is less than 17 feet wide, then we need to put the either additional signage, maybe they got removed. Have you noticed that the signage, no stopping is there?
Not in particular, but I mean, I know the problem she's talking about, it's a big issue there. Would there be a problem, since it says no, because we're talking about the north curb, right?
North side, across from the
It
houses.
says no parking anytime on those signs, so would it be an issue just to paint it all red? I mean, is there an issue between the signage and the red curb?
No, it's just a maintenance thing to
Yeah.
paint that whole stretch red.
I figured that'd probably be a cheaper option than putting more signage though, right?
Depends if there's an existing street
Yeah.
light or pole thing, so, do you know if, the school has an alternative place for parents to drop off their children?
They
Is
do,
it on
it's actually on
Fernwood or-
Fernwood, what
Okay.
they're supposed to do is drop them off on Fernwood. But how she was saying, like, a lot of times they'll double park in the lane, and, my partner, he's there almost every morning giving citations out for that. But
That's on Fernwood,
no, that's on Cameron.
on
They're
Cameron as
supposed
well.
to drop,
Oh.
yeah, they're supposed to drop them off on Fernwood, but obviously parents are in a hurry and whatnot, so a lot of them will just drop them off right at the corner of Fernwood and Cameron.
Mhm.
And then, like how she's saying, they'll block traffic, and then that's when that's the stuff that we mostly
Right.
enforce, because, I mean, we are, I mean, not to really make an excuse, but we are short on personnel, so we bring, during the school hours, we bring our whole arsenal out there and try to, and that's just one school.
Well, I
Yeah.
know, we've had
Yeah.
complaints at every
Yeah,
school, so
so-
it's like, they're thin already, they
But-
can't.
I'm a retired elementary principal from,
Oh,
not from
yeah.
But I just wanna make sure, the problem with the parking on the north side is not dropping kids off. It's when there's an event there. Whether it's, and graduation is the most obvious, and you only have 3 of those,
Football.
you know, there.
Yeah.
Well, they have things on
Baseball,
Saturdays
track,
with
yeah.
cheer, with the youth football, which is great, I admire that. But then follow the rules and don't, yeah, so it's not, the drop-off is a kind of a separate issue, like you talked about with them doing all,
Is
It
there
sounds like you want it just to be more visible rather than the
Yes,
signs.
I think that, you know, human nature being as it is, it's not gonna solve all problems. As you know better than I do, people are gonna break the
Mhm.
laws. And I know that from 38 years in public education. But I think that if you make it more obvious, and to me, the cost of the paint and the power to the person to do that would be a lot easier than trying to get more enforcement around there. What I'd like enforcement, sir, was coming out of the parking lot, you are not supposed to turn left. And we had a guy rip out the front of our yard there years ago. Oh, my brakes slipped, but they're supposed to, and you can't enforce that. There's a sign there when they exit the parking lot, because if they turn left, they cross both lanes. I think that's impossible. I think it would be very possible to paint that curb red.
Do you know if there's a school safety officer there? Because I know there was.
Yeah, we have a school resource officer on that campus. I think it's Officer Alexander.
Okay, because I know we talked to one that was at the junior high.
Yeah, we have four SROs, but I think the one that's in charge of that school is Officer Alexander, so.
Okay, so we could get a hold of him and find, I'm just concerned with when I hear that a bus is sitting there. So somehow we need to get a hold of the school and make sure they've made, you know, where should the buses go? They need to have a bus plan, you know?
I think what they're supposed to do is go, from my understanding, northbound on Fernwood, and I think they could exit back out onto Azusa from, if I'm correct, I think the
Behind the
street's
school.
Mobeck.
Mobeck, yes.
Yeah, so
We've
I
heard
think
about
then they go
Mobeck.
back out to Azusa. I think that's what they're supposed to do, but obviously, that's probably not gonna happen all the time.
Okay, so we
Because
just,
those are tight streets too.
in addition, so we wanna make a note, in addition, we need to contact the school to make sure they have a bus, parking plan in place, even while construction is being taken care of, because I know this is a big high school, so it has football games and everything
Big
else.
construction that's been going on for
Well,
2
yeah, and the construction, so they,
It starts
even
at
with
6 o'clock in the
construction, they
morning.
need to have a plan in place Because we don't want anyone hitting the rear end of the
Yeah, I
bus
mean, even
either,
if
you
the
know?
bus is parked on Mobeck, I mean, that gets
At
the
least
bus
it's a
out of the
residential,
way.
yeah, it's a smaller street, so.
It should, I mean, mine, if Mobeck's the correct street I'm thinking about,
No,
then,
we don't have the aerial, so.
yeah, they should have enough room, I would imagine, to do it, so.
All right, Mike, do we have any suggestions, comments on?
So we're also talking about the 17.5 feet on the south side? Right, and that's between,
Well, I agree with that.
and that's between your house and your neighbor's house?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
And is your neighbor aware of your request and that portion of the
She's
curb?
oblivious, yeah. And sometimes that gate, it's
The horseshoe?
yeah, I don't know, you guys don't know that house, but it's barricaded, it's almost like barricaded.
Right, I think they have a photo of it, and
Yeah,
it's also in our
I think
package
one
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Oh,
one's
yeah,
like
it's a big
this.
one.
So many
Sometimes that
schools.
gate doesn't work.
Okay.
Okay.
It's an automatic gate, there's a gate at the other, she has a new driveway just like I do.
I think it's for
Okay.
the signage and stuff, right?
Permit.
Yeah, there's a bus section.
Yeah,
I would bet money that she doesn't have a problem.
I think I remember
with
that.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're right.
So then I would just wonder, because the signage does say
Yeah,
no
it was
parking with a
supposed to be
certain hours, if you paint it red, I don't think you can park there ever.
Ever.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's the whole point, because we don't have any, during the school day, I can't park there. If I have a construction or something going on at my house, I can't park on the street during the school day. But as soon as the kids go home, then, or they have a program, then other people can park there. So sometimes that, but, you know, you gotta give and take, but it's
wanna
been a
make-
problem some of the time.
Yeah, I just want to make sure you're aware that the red curve is, it wouldn't just be 7 to 4 then.
Right,
It's all the
absolutely.
time,
Yeah.
Saturday, Sunday,
Okay.
your vehicle, their vehicle, any vehicle.
Yes,
So-
absolutely.
Okay, so we have two different items to think about. One is the 17.5 feet of red curb on the south side. Do we have a motion to approve that?
I would move to approve the 17.5 feet on the south side of Cameron.
Okay, should we have a vote? Aye?
Aye.
Okay, so that's approved. Now, do we want to have a discussion on the north side? Or bring it back after we do some review?
Do we want to check with the school if they want to increase communication? I know typically the schools will have some sort of electronic communication with all the parents and the students, and just remind them not to park on that side, or maybe check with the school and see if they have an issue with it being red. For some reason they haven't done it red already. But for me, I do agree that the red is more obvious than a sign. Sometimes signs are messed.
I mean,
And
right
so if
now there
nobody's
are,
opposed,
the signs say
No
No
stopping.
parking
No stopping.
anytime,
no
but
stopping anytime,
Yeah.
but
I
we
would,
need to check it.
as a driver, I think that might be kind of confusing too, because if you see a signage that says no stopping at any time that's red, and then only a portion of the curb is painted red, you would assume that you just can't park in that red portion, that the non-painted areas would be okay to park at.
I think you're
I
right.
would, that's what I would assume,
Thank you.
so.
So it may behoove us just to vote right now and,
Well, that's it, so instead of, we either vote to paint it all red, and then we will remove the signs, because it's counter, you know, no sense having the signs if we're all red.
yeah, the only thing about removing the signs is there's a
Or
difference
leave.
between no stopping and no parking.
Yes.
Because if you do just drop them off, I think that's okay, or wouldn't be considered parking. if
It's,
the
I
parents
remember we
are-
talked about this for another school. Parking is basically getting out of your vehicle.
Yes.
Stopping is being idle up against the curb, so as long as your engine's on and stuff.
Absolutely.
So this says no stopping, so basically you can't be there at any point.
Supposedly, yes. So red would be nothing, no parking, no stopping, it's very
It's kind of a
concrete.
catch-all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so.
but then do we leave the signs up so they know the difference between the no stopping versus no parking if they are?
I would assume that you could probably leave the signs up there, like we don't need to pay to take them down if it's
Right.
pretty much the same thing. I mean, it's just added benefit, in my opinion.
Right, but they know they're not allowed to stop there, and they could get a ticket even if they just stop versus parking.
Yeah, the curb would, basically a red curb covers no stopping and no parking, so the signage, I think, is okay to leave up.
Yeah,
Okay.
clarify.
Right, do we have then a motion to paint the north side from Fernwood to the edge of the, I guess to Cameron, or Lark Ellen? In red?
So moved?
Okay, let's vote, agree?
Aye.
Okay, so from Fernwood to Lark Ellen, north side, all red curves, okay? So we will need to add that to our installation exhibit when it comes time, okay?
We probably note signs to remain, so they know it's no stopping
Yes.
versus no parking.
Signs, existing signs to remain.
Sorry, where is the red curb gonna be added?
There's a portion of it, kind of where the construction is, and then also.
Right now, there's just like driveway tipping, we
So
call
it's
it.
between the two signs right here?
Yeah, so it would all be,
Whole section though.
there won't be any areas that don't have red. It'll be from Fernwood all the way to Lark Ellen.
Okay, all on the north side.
I mean, it's already posted no stopping anytime, but this way it's clear.
Okay.
I've been dropping my kids off, and it wasn't in this jurisdiction, but the sign was literally this big, and it was like 30 feet away.
Yeah, so
With no
this
red
way, okay, so we have the red curb, it's bright. Okay, so moved, that one taken care of. Thank you for coming. You can stay if you, whatever you like. Yeah, sure, stay.
Is it
You like-
disrespectful that we?
Oh, yes, no problem.
We will not be
Thank you.
offended.
Yeah.
You're welcome to stay.
Yes, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Your input was
Now-
very helpful.
Okay, so now here's the issue, so just so you're aware, we are just an advisory.
Yeah, it has to
So
go
it
in.
has to go to council, and usually it's like a quarterly, we lump all the ones for the quarter in, and it goes as a big group to council, and then they either yay or nay it. But then there's another added thing, is they have to find available funds to do the installation and construction. So sometimes we have to wait for funds to become available, but you have our email, so you can check in with us and we'll let you know how it's going, okay?
Okay, I appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Jeremy?
Okay, moving on to our next item. Item number 2 will be the red curb review of 1831 Gemini Street. So we received a red curb request from the homeowner of 1831 Gemini Street. They're requesting red curb be installed directly west of their driveway due to vehicles parking along the curb, which is too small for vehicles. When vehicles park in that 10-foot space, it blocks part of their driveway. So looking into the existing conditions of Gemini Street. Gemini Street is a local road, and it has a posted speed limit of 25 miles per hour. It's about 39 feet wide with one lane in each direction and a yellow marked center lane. And parking is permitted on both sides of the street at all times. And the residents reside within a planned community development zone per the zoning map of West Covina.
Okay, so this one we were recommending there we go. This area, someone is consistently parking in this 10-foot space. So obviously, unless it's a motorcycle parked at an angle, they can't, 10 foot is not enough for someone to park.
It'd have to be a smart car or
Yeah,
smaller.
like one of those little tiny cars, yeah, the
Yes,
smart
the
car.
standard spot is 18
They
feet
block
parking
the
space.
driveway.
What's that?
They block the driveway.
Yeah, they hang over and block, see where that van or SUV is? When
Yeah.
someone's hanging over, if they have two cars in the driveway, then, they have a risk of backing up and hitting someone.
Yeah, even when you back up, you typically back up and turn, that's why you have the lanes on the driveway approaches.
Right, so more than likely it's a neighbor, but, you're still not supposed to block other people's driveways.
Right.
You can block your own, I believe, for a short period to unload groceries or something, but not for parking.
It
Yeah,
seems
not
like there's
no lights,
a
so-
couple other sections that are similar to that on that street.
Yes.
If we paint one, are we gonna paint all of them?
There are some already painted, but maybe some of the other people aren't having an issue, so I would just suggest we leave it until there is an issue. But I mean, it's up to Mike, you have a,
Yeah, typically we just leave it unless there's a complaint or request. They may have their own motorcycle that they park there and it does fit.
or they're, you know, they talk with each other and there's not an issue, so then no sense painting everything if there's not an issue, so.
Right, and there's two different solutions we do sometimes. So sometimes we do the full height curve as you see here with the 10.5 feet. And sometimes you just do the wing or the variable grade portion of the driveway just to emphasize, hey, don't park over my driveway wing because that's illegal and I guess people don't notice it or unless there's right
Right,
there.
if we're kind of looking into like 18 feet and, you know, then we would do like the 2 feet on each side or so. Or if it's 20, then there's still, someone can park there, they just need to manage their car a little better so they're not overhanging on one side or the other. But this is obviously not enough space at 10 feet. Do we have a discussion? We do not have a resident on this one, and no resident communication back. We did inform them, but I think they were probably good with our recommendation. Do you, Adam, you have anything that's,
Makes sense.
I suppose the other thing we could do is do a little outreach if we see a bunch of sections that are 10 feet and say, are you having issues with people parking here,
but then it kind of invites.
Well,
So,
my concern is if it's an issue that someone's parking there, I mean, it's already legal to park there, right? If can't they get ticketed instead and painting one curb red and not the others?
they can get a ticket if they're hanging over.
They block the inlet and outlet to the driveway.
Right, so if they have an agreement in some way, I mean, so then PD doesn't have to go and, you know,
Be the regulator.
yeah, be the regulator, so, you know, it may spark something if this one gets painted and the others don't, then we can deal with it then. Or there's no issue with the other ones, so,
yeah. If there was a big cost to mobilization, if it was like heavy construction we were doing or concrete work, then we may want to reach out more, but to send a truck with a guy with a paint rollers, is
Not a lot, I know.
not a big item, so.
right. Okay, so do we want to, do we have a motion to accept the recommendation? To go forward with that? Agreement or disagreement? Agree?
Yeah.
Okay. Mike?
Agreed.
Okay. So this one is approved and it will be taken to traffic, or to city council for actual approval. It said it made it through traffic commission and then we'll see what happens the next step, okay? All right, now the next one, I'll take over because it's basically, the next one is a discussion item only. We're not gonna be making a decision on this. Now, this one, Allison, if you can, oh, yes. It's an intersection review at Citrus and Garvey out south. So the issue was on the southeast corner, what is painted out there right now with signage is the northbound is a right turn, must turn right. So we did, so this came from PD because people weren't obeying it. So we went out and we redid the striping, made it brighter so that you could see it and the signage is out there, but people are still ignoring it. Because with the new freeway project, the feeder lanes that are dumping into, as you cross the street, opens up to 2 or 3 lanes. And then you have the westbound coming in from off the freeway, they're also merging. So the whole issue is we heard from residents as well that want it to be changed to a shared through and a right turn lane. So we have two different opposing thoughts on this intersection. One is to keep it as a exclusive right turn lane. Number two is change it to a through or right turn lane. So what we did is we did counts, we did an operational review, which is level service and delay and queuing. So what we found is basically it's operating at a level of service B and C with, as it is, so it's operating okay. And the delay is 18, I don't know what we have on there. Do we have table 3? Yes.
Yeah.
So on table 3 shows the delay 18.8. B receives 70, so it's a B if you look at delay, a C if you look over vehicle to capacity. If we change it to a shared through and a right, it has a little bit more delay. And that's because the right turners will have to queue behind the through traffic. So right now, if you're a right turner and you want to get on that freeway, you're in the correct lane. If it's available, you can make a right turn on red, as long as it's for, it's safe. If we change it to a through and a right, then all those right turners, if one guy in the front wants to make a through, then you're queuing behind with everyone. So you can't go until the signal turns green. So what we heard from several residents is that people are getting in that lane and they're not making a right turn, they're continuing through the intersection, but then the people that stayed in the correct through lane, they want to merge over to the right so they can get to the right curb lane to do the hook onto the freeway, going westbound on the other side of the bridge. So there's a merge issue after we get to the other side of the intersection. So we looked, like I said, if you go back to the peak hour count. So if you look at the count, in the morning, we did morning commute and PM commute. So the heaviest 1 hour in the morning. You have 100, if you look at it northbound, 170 people made a right turn. And then 258 went through. So it's pretty balanced. And in the evening, we have 218 people made a right turn northbound, while 360 people continued on through. So it's not like the right turner is only 50 or less, a minimal amount of right turns. And I think PD has found that they're giving tickets to the people that aren't obeying the sign. So our decision today is to discuss the advantages, disadvantages of each. The striping. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We did look at the collisions, and there were no collisions involving a northbound right or through. There were several going southbound with side swipes and rear ends, so it's different. Our engineer who did the analysis, our traffic engineer, could support leaving it as right turn only lane because there is no difference, if you keep it that way. It will be easier to enforce leaving it as a right turn only lane. The opposite is if we change it to a through and a right. Those people just have an additional lane. There is the issue of the west turner, the westbound right turn has a free right. So they're also merging. So if we keep it as a right turn only lane, then at least it gives space for those mergers to get on to a through lane without the 2 lanes of through going through the intersection. So there's pluses and minuses for each decision. So
So, did
Open
you,
it up for discussion.
okay, thank you. Did you say if we change it to through and right turn, there's a additional delay because the people can't go right, they have to wait behind the two?
Yeah, there's about 10 seconds. So if you notice, it's, goes from 18.8 to 19.1. It's minimal delay, but there is some delay, yes.
Okay. And then the additional weaving, so you'd have the two lanes going northbound, and potentially both those lanes would want to get on the freeway.
Correct.
And be trying to get in the right lane, so.
So you have the, if you changed it to the through and the right, you would have 2 through lanes going, and then you add the westbound free right, also trying to merge. So you have 3 lanes of traffic merging into 2. And if they all want to get onto the freeway on the other side of the bridge, then it's the merging is the big issue, you know.
I do know with this intersection too, when they do stop, if they're trying to go straight in the right turn lane, which is what they're technically not supposed to do right now, it also builds up traffic in that lane where it's gone all the way to basically blocks all the traffic to that gas station right there and even to the parking lot if you could go a little more south of it.
Right.
So people trying to leave there stack up in like that gas station, and it's just a major traffic jam in that gas station itself. So that's another thing. If we're going to think about making it a straight through and a right turn, there will not only be more traffic on the street, but there will be more traffic for people waiting as well.
And then one other issue is, I know that if we make it into a through and a right turn lane, the people that are trying to make a right turn lane, if they're 10 or 15 back, they're gonna cut through the shopping center over to that other driveway that's right across from the freeway ramp and just bypass it, so then
Or even through the gas station.
or through the gas station, depends on where they are in the queue. So, I mean, there's there's issues. So, if we change it, I noticed, because I observed also, during the day, off a non-peak, it kind of flows, there's not as many people trying to get on the freeway, but in the peak hour, definitely, there's a lot of right turners.
Right, those are excellent points. So, because the volumes going right and through are similar, they're not like 2 to 1 or 3 to 1, why would we give 2 lanes to one and no lane to the other? And that was probably reviewed when they did this striping to begin with, and that's probably why it's in its current configuration.
Right, I mean, we didn't just go out and do that, it was what was in there prior. I mean, some parts have been on construction because of the freeway,
Right.
so, but now the freeway construction is done, so then it's like, it's put back to, now if we decide to leave it as a exclusive right turn lane, perhaps we can put the cat track, you know, to make, to added enforcement that, hey, you know, this lane is to make a right turn. You know, the little white
Yeah.
dots through the intersection for the right turn lane?
Yeah, I'm assuming it has the arrow pavement markers already.
Yeah, I think,
That was the initial issue, because we
They were
just
missing.
repainted them.
Yes.
They couldn't see them before, so people were just assuming it was straight through.
Right.
So then they got repainted, and now this is how I think this came up, so.
How recently was it repainted?
I wanna say within
this year, this past year, because it did come to us and it was faded. So, we did have, the city did go out and repaint the arrows.
Because I drove that intersection within the last week and I did not realize it was a right turn only lane until the last minute.
Yeah, so that was one thing I was kind of bringing up right now, is like, it's hard, I mean, yeah, I know there's that sign that says right turn must turn right, but from my understanding, that's kind of by the bus stop,
Yeah,
so it's hard to
It's kind of
see.
last minute, if we could,
So I was
Yeah.
thinking, maybe what if we put like the little X saying no right turn up top by the, I mean, it should be obvious because it's on the ground, but there's obviously an
sorry.
issue, so
Yeah.
maybe that's another
Yeah.
suggestion.
I didn't notice it until last minute.
Yeah, our engineers also said that if we decided to keep it as it is, it needs improvements. So that's why it's only a discussion item, so we need to take it back and get the striping. We need the advanced arrows and more advanced signing. I didn't wanna go out and do it yet until we decided, you know, what direction we wanted to take. So yeah, it needs additional right turn arrows as well as signing, if that's the decision.
Yeah, I would be leaning that way since you have equal amount of movements approximately, and the weaving issue you might have with the 3 lanes going
Yeah.
into 2 or 1, and then blocking all the commercial activity as well. Yeah, there's a possible sign location maybe earlier in the right turn lane or on one of the mast arms.
And another issue I just thought about, if we do make it a straight through lane, we would have to merge, I mean, I know there's a yield for westbound to northbound, but then we have to make that lane into where it basically says you cannot be driving. We'd have to make that into a lane, and that's even more of a hazard for people going west to north. So then I don't know how much space there is for a lane there. It looks like there might be space, but that's a whole nother problem.
Yeah, there's amount of, you know, depending on the speed and all that, of how much merging you need to provide. That's why, you know, whichever direction we went, we would have to take it back and do a conceptual design on that whole movement. Even if we keep it as is, it still needs improvements, so. So I'm kind of getting the idea that we want to leave it as a exclusive right turn only with additional signage and pavement legends. Is that the direction we're heading? So what we will do is, that is our direction. I don't think, since if we all, do we agree, Mike?
Agreed?
Adam, agree? All right, so if that's our agreement for traffic commission, I don't think we need to bring it back to traffic commission. I think we can just do the installation exhibit to be more to standard what we need with the advanced signing and striping. And then we will take it to council and see. Because we do have some residents that wanted it to stay as a through and a right, so it may come up, so we'll have a good, you know, the plan, and then they can make the final decision.
Yeah, I can see how the optics, you know, people would think, if you could go 2 through and a right, that'd be better. But what they don't realize is it actually causes more congestion, delay, and issues with weaving.
Right,
past that
some safety
location.
issues when we get towards and that movement going westbound from getting off the freeway onto Citrus is pretty heavy, or consistent at least, you know? So, and they're not going really slow either. They have just a yield sign, so I've done that, the loop, so. All right, so what we'll do is, we've agreed that it'll stay as is, and then we will improve the signing and striping and prepare a conceptual exhibit for the next step. Now I'm wondering if this is something that we should, Mike, you may need to take a look that if we need we need additional signage and striping, then it probably needs to be done like sooner rather than taking it to council and, you know, if, you know, people aren't noticing that it is a right turn, we don't want any conflicts in that, so.
So we want it to conform to CAMUTCD
Yes.
and the current standards, and if we find it's deficient, we should probably
Upgrade.
direct Public Works to install it sooner rather than later, being
Okay.
an existing fishing condition, if that is the case.
That's what I'm thinking, is that we need to have that done, do another check to make sure it conforms, and then if it doesn't, we'll have Public Works go out and make those changes. make the sign, the signage more visible and advance pavement legend arrows. All right, so that concludes our items on our agenda. We did have a resident who has a email that they want read into the traffic commission about an item. This is at, an item at Casa Grande at South Hills Drive. We brought this item in January of 2022.
Sorry, is it a public comment or is it on one of the items?
It's just a public comment, not on the agenda, so we won't be discussing it. Do we need to, we don't even, okay.
Yeah, if they emailed it, it'll be on public record.
Okay, so it's public record and we'll have that. All right, and then we can conclude.
Okay. I adjourned this meeting at 3:51.